On tonight's Gwinnett Prep Rally, the Region 8 boys soccer title is up for grabs as two of the most storied programs in the county face off when Parkview goes on the road to Brookwood. The Parkview Lady Panthers had a chance to wrap up a perfect region record, but nothing is for certain when they square off against the rival Lady Broncos. In AA, the Buford Lady Wolves pull off a shootout shocker against the defending state champs, while the Buford boys look to make a statement against top-ranked Blessed Trinity. It's another big week of soccer throwdowns on GPR, and it starts right now.
For more than 15 years, your source for Gwinnett County sports is Gwinnett Prep Rally.
Hello again and welcome to your county's original high school sports television program. This is Gwinnett Prep Rally, now in its 19th season, and we can be seen right here on GCPS TV for the entire 2011-2012 school year. I'm Todd Klein alongside Will Hammock from the Gwinnett Daily Post. And Will, most of the Class 5A playoff spots have been claimed, but could we see any surprises in the final week of the regular season?
I think it's kind of going to be the status quo here for the last week. I think teams are going to use this week to kind of rest up a little bit, get some injuries taken care of, also keep that fitness level up for the playoffs. Just making the playoffs in Gwinnett is such a battle. I think you need that week to recover before the state playoffs to get ready and hopefully make a state playoff run.
Well, let's get right to the highlights, and it's no big surprise that the Region 8 championship would come down to Brookwood and Parkview, with both teams unbeaten in region play and the coveted #1 seed up for grabs. GPR's Kirk Rogers has all the action from Snellville.
The top spot for Region 8-5A is up for grabs in Snellville when the Parkview Panthers travel to take on arch rival Brookwood. In the first minute of action, Trevor Mooney misses wide left, and we're still knotted up at 0. On the other end, Sammy Corgi puts it in the box, but Brandon Schuster prevents any damage from happening and keeps Parkview off the board. Later in the first, Raymond Murrow has a free kick opportunity, but Schuster comes up big again, and then a great heads-up play to keep the ball in play and avoid the Parkview corner kick. Brookwood is trying to mount some offense now, and off a throw-in, Malik Jalal attempts to head it in, but Diego Casillas knocks it down, and we're still scoreless. In the 20th minute, Jonathan Jarrett beats his defender and puts a shot on goal, but this goes wide right. Later in the first, Giovanni Ramos ends up with the ball and dishes it over to Jarrett, and Jarrett makes one of the most athletic plays of the game, going over his defender and fielding it, but as we slow it down, the referee said he fielded this one with his hands, and this is called back, and we take a 0-0 game into the half. In the 47th minute of action, Brookwood is on the attack again, and Adrian Alabi comes up with the ball, gets by his defenders, and puts a shot on goal that goes by the diving Casillas, and Brookwood puts the first score on the board. We jump to later in the second half, and a Bill Wynn with a free kick that goes inside the box, but Schuster pulls it in to preserve a 1-0 lead, and that would become your final score as Brookwood takes home the top spot in Region 8-5A.
Well, you see a tough-fought game there, Will. Ends up being that Brookwood defense really gets the job done, played an excellent contest.
Yeah, we've talked all season. That defense is pretty stout. It's going to keep them in pretty much every game they play from here on out, so they have a chance to go a long way in the playoffs because of that defense. It's just a matter of finding that offensive spark. They had a chance to score a couple more goals in this one, maybe didn't, but Adrian Alabi found a way to score that one, and it was huge.
And like you said, Brookwood expected to go a long way. Where does that leave Parkview? Parkview looked awful good in this one too, just kind of that one goal that got them.
Yeah, they've kind of flown under the radar, but they've had a great season. I think you got to look at them as being a contender in the playoffs too, because they played a very good Brookwood team, tooth and nail, and really a very even match for the most part. Held that Brookwood offense in check with a strong defensive effort of their own. So I think you got to look for the Panthers to be a threat in the playoffs.
Well, back to the highlights and a matchup between two of the top squads in AA, with the top-ranked Blessed Trinity Titans paying a visit to #6 ranked Buford in an important Region 6 showdown. GPR's Wade Smith has more.
Buford is trying to end a 2-game losing streak against a tough, one-loss Blessed Trinity team at home. In the second minute of the game, Buford has a solid look, but the shot goes high and the score stays 0-0. On the ensuing possession, Juan Perez sends it in the box, but Baxter Argos stops the attack and the ball is going the other way. Still tied up at 0, Miguel Aguirre puts a shot on goal, but his attempt is off target and we remain scoreless. In the 20th minute, Stefan Rizzo has a free kick opportunity, but puts it right into Argos' hands. And on the other end, Edgar Villafuerte sails his kick, and it is just over the goal, and the scoreboard still reads goose eggs. Going the other way, John Collar dishes it over to Amit Kalarackle, but he is forced to take an off-balance shot, and Argo comes up with it. Then, with time winding down in the half, Blessed Trinity with a corner kick, and out of nowhere, Devin Crapcho comes in with a header and puts it past 5 Buford defenders for the score. Buford tries to tie it up with this free kick, but it is just out of reach of Villafuerte. Blessed Trinity takes the lead into the half. Late in the second, Villafuerte with another free kick, but can't get it by the Titan wall, and Buford still trails. Titans are trying to add a little insurance to their lead, but Argo stops them in this free kick try. And later, John Collar sends it just over the crossbar after some tough Buford D, and your score remains Titans 1, Wolves 0. Buford defense would stop Blessed Trinity one more time to keep this at a one-score deficit, but they wouldn't get another opportunity to score, and Blessed Trinity holds on for the win, 1-0.
Well, Will, Blessed Trinity gets the win here. Obviously a very top-ranked team, very talented team. How do you assess Buford after playing Blessed Trinity?
That was a tough matchup. I know Buford was trying to get the momentum going again in this one. I had a really tough task in the #1 team in the state, but I think really Buford played pretty well in this game. They showed a lot on the defensive end. I was impressed with what they were able to do to kind of control that Blessed Trinity attack. It's a shame they couldn't get a goal of their own, but had a couple chances there to put some goals in. So still a lot of talent up there at Buford. I don't think they can be too discouraged with this effort, though.
Time now to recap other boys soccer action from this past week. It's brought to you by Tommy Lee Carpets, and we begin with the Decula Falcons.
Yeah, Decula boys soccer, that was a big win. Central Gwinnett's kind of been in the surging team in the region, the surprise team, but really nice win for Decula in this one. Nick Siebert had a couple of goals. Joe Efford scored a goal. I know the record's not what they wanted to be. They're 8-9 overall, but definitely a season that they put it together late in the season and really kept playing hard for Coach Burrell all season long, and I think that's something they can really hang their hat on and take pride on.
And we moved down in classification over to Wesleyan that also got a big win.
Yeah, Wesleyan's played some good soccer this year. I think one of the big moves they made, moving Eric Sunderman up to forward from he'd been a goalkeeper for 3 years. He had 3 goals and 2 assists in the 6-0 win over Mount Pisgah. So he's a guy that's really a phenomenal player. He's going to be huge for that team this season. He's a talented athlete that's done a lot in a lot of sports for Wesleyan.
Then we move across town over to GAC. They had a big win over Westminster that sets up another big game for the Spartans.
Yeah, they can clinch the region if they beat Lovett in their regular season finale, but we know they're one of the more talented teams in the state. They're the only team right now to beat #1 Blessed Trinity, so really a lot of talent over there at GAC, and once again they have state championship hopes, and I wouldn't be surprised to see them do that.
And you talked about GAC and those hopes. What do you think they have to do as far as kind of within their own team as far as playing well if they're going to make that run to the state championship?
I think if they just keep what they've been doing all season. I mean, I think their team's really hit its stride here and maybe struggled a little bit early in the season, but they've really been dominant of late. They've scored some huge victories, and really that one over Blessed Trinity showed a lot. I think this is a team that has the talent to do it. The thing with GAC, not a lot of these players are playoff tested like they have been in the past. They got a lot of young guys playing key roles. If those guys can grow up and get accustomed to the playoff soccer, I wouldn't be surprised to see GAC win state once again.
High hopes for GAC. I know Wesleyan would like to do well in the playoffs too. What is the key for Wesleyan if they are to make a nice playoff run?
I think Sunderman's going to have to keep producing offense for that team. I mean, he's a guy that's a talented athlete. He's a record-breaking wide receiver, a great punter on the football team. He's a guy that creates a lot of matchup problems because he's so fast. I mean, he's a very athletic goalkeeper in the past, but they're really asking a different role of him, and he's going to have to score a lot of goals for this Wesleyan team to succeed.
Well, let's turn our attention to the girls, and the Parkview Lady Panthers look to finish their region schedule unbeaten, while the Brookwood Lady Broncos were trying to improve their playoff seeding. Kirk Rogers has more.
The top 2 teams at 8-5-8 throw down in Snellville, and this one would not disappoint. We pick it up in the second half, still a scoreless ball game, and the Panthers have a corner kick, but as Elizabeth Quintanilla attempts to head it in, Taylor Strickland pulls it down and ends this Parkview drive. Going the other way, Santa Williams with a free kick, and this one gets to Francesca Ellis, but her shot is too high and goes over the goalpost, and we remain tied. Parkview would only get 2 more chances to get on the board, one in this attempt from Iris Gonzalez that Strickland pulls in, and then once again when Erin Baker is one-on-one with the keeper and gets her shot by Strickland, but the iron is unkind, and this game goes to overtime. In the shootout, Baker just barely misses her target again, and Santa Williams' attempt is stopped by Mariah Garner. Strickland knocks this Lauren Soul attempt out of play, and Kimberly Fincher puts her shot in the back of the net, and Brookwood has a 1-0 advantage in the shootout. Iris Gonzalez puts Parkview on the board with her shot here, but it is countered by Brielle Power, and Brookwood is up 2-1 with 2 shots to go. Strickland comes up with what might be the biggest save of the entire Lady Broncos season, and now it is all up to Francesca Ellis. Ellis lines up and takes her shot, puts this one past Garner, and Brookwood is your winner by a final of 1-0.
What a game there, Will. I guess what you expect from a rivalry game, but what a huge win for Brookwood headed into the playoffs.
Yeah, Brookwood's kind of had an up and down season. Maybe their record's not as sparkling as it has been in the past, but really they turned it around here in the final game against their undefeated region rival Parkview. Just a huge win. It's good to see that emotion out of the Broncos. Sometimes that's been missing this season, but really showed a lot of energy and great saves in the shootout by Taylor Strickland.
Yeah, you go to a shootout, I don't know what that really says about Parkview. It's not like they're suddenly going to not be a factor in the postseason, but did this game raise any flags for you, or is it just one of those rivalry type of contests?
Yeah, you know that game's always going to be close. It's not really a surprise to see it that way. I think Parkview's still got a very talented soccer team. They're going to do well in the playoffs. You know they're always going to be strong on defense, and clearly they were in this one, a 0-0 battle. Both teams very stout on defense, and I think Parkview's going to do a good job, and I look for them to be a factor down the road.
Well, the Blessed Trinity Lady Titans are the defending Class AA state champions and are all currently ranked #1 in the state of Georgia. That didn't impress #3 Buford when they paid a visit to the Wolves' Den last week. GPR's Wade Smith has the call.
#1 Blessed Trinity travels to face Caitlin Hollis and the Buford Lady Wolves. And a 3-hour lightning delay could not prevent an outstanding matchup. Early on, Grace Damascus with a chance from the right side, and it gets by Hollis but just inches off the mark as it hits the post and is cleared by Buford. Just moments later, Maddie Burdick dishes it to Damascus, and Damascus is one-on-one with Hollis again. But Hollis comes up with a big-time save, and we remain scoreless. Late in the first half, Blessed Trinity is pushing again, and Damascus passes it inside to Cameron Cox, but the ball is deflected by a Buford player and goes in for an own goal, and Blessed Trinity takes a 1-0 lead into halftime. In the 68th minute, off a Buford throw-in, Grace Eubanks sets up Tara Dombach, and this one gets past the keeper for the score. Just minutes later, Damascus has another opportunity, and this time she squeezes it in the corner, and Blessed Trinity is back on top 2-1. With time winding down, Buford has a corner kick opportunity, and McKenna Hardwood is on the break and puts this where no one can stop it. We take a 2-2 score to the end of regulation. In the first round of the shootout, Lindsey White drills it in, and Caitlin Hollis comes up with a big-time stop. Buford now has the advantage. Ann Schmidt and Delaney Fechalos exchange goals, and Buford is still up by 1. In the next round, Meredith Carson comes up with the stop and keeps the Lady Titans in the game. But on the other end, Hollis dives right, gets the stop, and maintains the 2-1 advantage, and she is pumped. Brooke Horace puts it past Carson, and in order for Blessed Trinity to stay alive, Damascus has another showdown with Hollis. She sets up, and with the kick, goes wide right, and with that, Buford upsets #1 Blessed Trinity by a final score of 3-2.
What a victory there for the Buford girls, Will, the type of win that really can define your program.
Yeah, I think that's probably the biggest win in school history. They play in such a tough region. The top 4 teams in the state rankings are from that region, and 5 of the top 7 are in that region. So for Buford to beat a team like that, it says a lot going into the state playoffs. I mean, it shows they're one of the better teams in the state. And I can't say enough about this team, the way they were able to bounce back. I mean, twice you get down a goal to the #1 team in the state, but they never quit. They kept coming, tied the game twice, and took it to PKs where anything can happen.
Time now to recap other girls soccer action from this past week. It's brought to you by Breda Pest Management, and we begin with the GAC Lady Spartans.
Yeah, I still think GAC is the most talented girls team. I mean, they're going to face some challenges in the playoffs, but I think they're the best girls team in the state. Hopefully they can put it together and win their first state championship this season. Rachel Garcia had 4 of the 5 goals. She's a very dynamic player going to Georgia. Elizabeth White picking up the shutout in goal. So just rolling right along for the GAC girls. I look for a great playoff run by this team.
And then we go over to the Beulah girls just having really a breakout season.
Yeah, just another great win for this program as they continue to rise and get better. They got a lot of young talent over there, and just really got it done. 2-0 at Central Gwinnett, nothing flashy, just kind of cruising into the playoffs. I think they're going to be a test for anybody that play in the playoffs. Ruva Chemedza and Amanda Kent had goals in this one.
And then finally, we talk about Collinsville. I know you feel like they're maybe a little bit of a dark horse team going into the playoffs.
Yeah, it's one of those teams we talked about earlier. Their record's maybe not what they want it to be. They're 10-7 right now, but really took it to East Coweta in this one. And Lauren Mitchell had 3 goals. Paige Hoover had 2 goals, 2 assists. Paige Hoover was really playing well late in the season. I think there's a lot of talent on this Collinsville team, and they're going to be a test for whoever they play in the postseason.
Well, going to go back, I want to ask you a little bit about GAC. We talked about those GAC boys being a state championship contender. Girls never have gotten it done before. If they're going to get a state title this year, what do they have to do well?
Just kind of put those ghosts of the past behind them, I think. I think when they get in that postseason, they kind of tense up. I mean, they have some tough games, and when they get that point to the Final Four, to the finals, they have to stay focused, play the soccer they've been playing all season, not get stressed out by that moment, and just keep pushing forward. And once they break through and get that first title, I think it's going to be the first of many to come.
Wanted to move back up to the larger classification. We'll talk to you again about Tequila. Kind of a simple question. How good is this team?
I think it's a pretty good team. I mean, I think that you can play with the Brookwoods, you can play with the Parkviews and the Graysons. I think that shows you can play with anybody in the state, and I think Region 8's going to find that, Region 7's going to find that out in the first round. That Tequila's not going to be an easy out. This is a team that really hustles, really plays hard, and I know they have a lot of talent. It's young talent, but certainly a lot of talent, and it can put a scare into anyone.
Time now for Will's World. We put 60 seconds on the clock. We get in the mind of our very own Will Hammock, and it's brought to you by Next Star Communication.
Yeah, big football news this week. Shiloh's Brian Montgomery out as the football coach at Shiloh. He eventually resigned, but he was kind of the focus of an investigation over there into recruiting allegations. Kind of people thought he coerced some of his North Atlanta players to come over with him and join him at Shiloh. So a big investigation by GCPS. They decided they weren't going to renew his contract, and he ended up resigning out of that. Another coaching job that's going to be open, Drew Prentice is leaving the Collinsville boys soccer program. Obviously won a state championship over there, has led them to a lot of great successes. May win another state championship this year if he has his way, but he's going over to be a soccer director at the Tequila Soccer Club. He's a guy that's really fired up about this new job. I think it's going to be great over there. They're going to do wonderful things. And then the last thing we're going to talk about, the playoff experience. North Gwinnett soccer, I mean, outside of the Collinsville boys, probably have more playoff experience than anybody going into the state playoffs. A lot of these girls have played a lot of games. Players like Lauren Harriman that have been around a long time, and Mackenzie Lola. Those girls are excellent soccer players, and but more than that, they're experienced, and I think that's going to really matter when they get into these tough playoff games because they've been there before.
I wanted to go back, Will, and talk to you a little bit about the Shiloh situation with Coach Montgomery and really just where that program finds itself now. Went through the investigation with the coach resigns. How is that football program going to be looking towards going into next season?
Yeah, I think they're really in a crucial situation right now. Things are not looking great over there. Obviously, Shiloh needs an athletic director also. The county brought in Mike Phillips, the old Grayson AD, to kind of help them through the rest of this year, straighten out the situation, hopefully get a football coach hired. They're going to need one ASAP. So just getting that whole athletic program, I think, solidified. They need some good leadership over there, and certainly need some good leadership with the football program as well.
Well, our thanks again to Next Star Communications for sponsoring Will's World. Time now to focus on standout performances. So let's move on to this week's Building Blocks presented by Britt's Home Furnishing. And first up is Taylor Strickland from Brookwood.
Yeah, she's a really good goalkeeper. I mean, she has been for several years for the Broncos, but really the key to this win over Parkview, when it comes down to PKs, you want your goalkeeper to step up, and she made 2 great saves in this shootout to really give Brookwood a kind of a signature win going into the playoffs. That's certainly a confidence booster for her team, and I know it feels good for her to deliver like that.
Well, and you talk about a signature win by a goaltender, you talk about Caitlin Hollis and the Buford Wolves.
Yeah, she was huge in this game. I mean, we saw the 2 saves in the shootout, but the saves like this that she made during regulation that looked like they were going to be sure goals. I think Caitlin Hollis really stepped up and did what her team needed, not only in the shootout but also in regulation, kind of put the team on her back against one of the better teams in the state.
And then we talked about that big win by Brookwood, Adrian Alabi playing very good soccer.
Yeah, he's a guy I think that really needs to be a factor. We know Brookwood's going to be stout on defense, but he's clearly their most explosive offensive player. Very highly ranked recruit. He's going to Stanford. They really needed him to deliver with some goals in the postseason, to score the big clutch goals and put his team on his back, sort of, and when it comes down to the playoff time.
Well, our thanks to Britt's Home Furnishing. Will, who else played well last week that we should mention?
Tyler Bethune was 3 for 4 with 3 RBIs for Mountain View Baseball, which scored another big win last week, upset the North Gwinnett boys. So congratulations to Tyler and the Bears.
All right, we're out of time, but you can visit us online at GwinnettPrepRally.com, where we have the world-famous message board and video highlights. And you can also keep up with GPR on Twitter and on our Facebook fan page. Be sure to join us next week for more highlights and features on Gwinnett Prep Rally every Tuesday through Friday, right here on GCPS TV. For Will Hammock and all of us here at GPR, I'm Todd Klein. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you under the lights.
Grab some wood there, bub.